These are some of my bills. Hi, some of you guys are probably wondering about the living expenses, and one of the first things is probably how much is it going to cost you to get set up in Korea. 3 years ago, I came over here with about 2,000 bucks. I didn't have a job, I didn't have a home. It took me about a month to find a home, to find a job, and then and I stayed at hostels until then. So that was plenty of money until then, and yeah, it took me about a month. But if you have a job and you have a home, you won't even need that much money. I think if you come over here with about 1,000 US, you'll be fine. You probably come over here with much less than that and still be fine. Maybe 500 bucks and still be fine. Your only expenses that you're going to have are basically going to be food, and depending on your situation, what you arrange with your school, you might have to pay for health check or visa fee or something like that. But otherwise, you probably just have to pay for food. 500 bucks would probably be enough to get you through. Other questions? Living expenses. You just saw my bills. So that's about 45,000 won I pay a month for my utility bills. Well, that was last month. That was the month of November. This month will probably be a little bit more expensive from the heating. The most I ever paid, this is in Changwon, the most I ever paid was about 120,000 won. And that was in Busan, in the middle of the winter. So that definitely, the heating definitely jacked the bills up, 120,000, and that my house was pretty nice. It was really big, had tall ceilings, so it wasn't very efficient. So that probably also jacked the bills up. Rent, most of you won't have to pay rent. I pay rent. I pay about 330,000 won a month for rent. It's just a small studio apartment. Most of you will get free housing with your school. So housing could range anywhere from like 300,000 won on the cheap end up to 500 or more thousand won. The place where I stayed in Busan, I stayed in a few places, but the first contract of my school, that was a really nice place, and it was in kind of downtown Busan in Samyeon, and I'm thinking, I'm not for sure, but I'm thinking that cost about 500,000, maybe 550,000 won a month. I didn't have to pay that. School paid that. So most of you won't have to worry about that. So anywhere you could find it, if you do need to find housing, you could find it, online anywhere from maybe 300 to 500,000 a month. A lot of times in Korea, you have to put down a big deposit. So it's not too easy to find your own housing in Korea. Fortunately, I didn't have to pay a deposit, but usually you have to put down key money. I know a guy here in Changwon, and he just moved. He's married to a Korean woman. He just moved into a new house, and he put down 30,000 US dollars, and then every month he pays $100 for rent. So sometimes you can put a huge deposit down. It could be as much as maybe $100,000 or maybe more down, and then the landlord makes money off of interest. So you're not paying any rent, and then when you move out, you get your money back. Other expenses, phone. I got a phone. It's an old phone. I got it 3 years ago, and I think the phone was actually free. And I bought a plan. If you have an ARC, you can get a plan. Otherwise, you have to get like a prepaid phone or phone cards or whatever. So I think my first month I might have had to pay some setup fees for this, and that was probably around setup fee. I can't remember exactly. I'm guessing maybe the first month was 50,000 won, or maybe as much as 70,000. Now I only pay about 30 to 40,000 won a month for my bill. And I don't use it to talk much, just a little bit chat here and there and text messages. So pretty inexpensive. Other expenses that you may have, food. If I spend about 80,000 won on food, and I pretty much always eat out these days. Or excuse me, I pretty much always eat at home and do my shopping in the grocery store. And if you want to eat out, the cheapest places to eat would be the Korean restaurants that serve like gimbap, bibimbap, kimchi jjigae, bokkeumbap, these sorts of dishes, and they can range from maybe 3,000 to 6,000. Gimbap's only like maybe 1,000 or 1,500 won. Those are the cheapest place to eat if you want to eat out. Other than that, foreign food's pretty expensive. Whether you're buying like imported food in the supermarket or you're going to a restaurant, restaurants can be, foreign restaurants can be kind of pricey. If you want to eat Italian or, I don't know. There's any other kind of food except for Korean. There's a place here in Changwon where I go, an Indian restaurant, and that's like 16 to 20,000 won an entree. And then you're gonna want to probably get rice or some naan with that, maybe a drink. So you could easily spend 30,000 won, I'd say there. Pizza is pretty pricey. If you want to get like a Domino's pizza or Pizza Hut pizza, again, you could easily spend close to 30,000 won for that. So exotic foods are expensive. Imported foods are expensive in Korea. Salary, most people probably make, the average salary is probably around 2.2 million won, and that's with everything, housing and air tickets and pension and severance, those sorts of things. My first year I made 2.3 million won, and in the last 3 or 4 months I was making 2.4 million won. I managed to save 18 million won that year, including my plane ticket. Like, I didn't go back to the States, I stayed here, so they gave me cash instead for my ticket. So yeah, I saved about 18 million won my first year. It's pretty good. So most salaries are probably around 2.2. You can make more than that. I knew a guy who's making like 2.9 million won. Just had a good relationship with the boss, and the boss liked him. He had a good salary. It range a bit. If you work part-time, technically you need permission from your employer and from immigration. You need to get something written into your visa. But you can work part-time. If you get caught, you can get a big fine, maybe 2 million won or more, or kicked out of Korea. Nevertheless, people still do it. Part-time, you work part-time, an average wage, or I'd say ask for 30,000 or maybe 35,000 an hour. Those can range from anywhere from 20,000 won up to 50,000 won an hour. I'd say 30 is a pretty good asking price. You don't want to bring the price down too low. I know a guy who makes 45 to 50,000 won an hour. So he's got a F5 visa. If you have one of those visas, you can do pretty well. He's married to a Korean. It's easy to save 1 million won a month. You can save more than that. Like I mentioned, my first year here working on a contract, I saved 18 million won, and that's including severance.